What's up, nerds? Welcome to Chapter 3, Season 4 of the Unvaulted podcast. I'm your host, Squatingdog, and at FNCS, people called me Immature Gamer? Yes, I'm an immature gamer. Of course I am. But in today's podcast, we are going to break down Chapter 4, which is it was just announced at FNCS, which is really exciting. So we're gonna break down FNCS, and we're gonna talk about Chapter 4 and everything that we think could possibly be in it. Joining us, we have Poor Take PM and everybody's favorite monkey that is on fire, FireMonkey. Welcome, boys. How we doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Doing pretty well, except for the audio issues in the beginning.
PM just went through a hurricane of audio issues, and we watched him deteriorate on the inside. So it's good to have you still here. And there's a lot to talk about, guys. I'm really, really excited. We have FNCS that just wrapped up. Me and FireMonkey flew out for this, hung out with some people, Epic employees, content creators, professional players, and a bunch of fans, and it was a blast. FireMonkey.
I didn't fly out. I drove out. It was like an 11-hour drive there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a long drive.
Yes, and I didn't sleep beforehand in the drive, so I was like 30 hours plus awake going on a 10-hour drive.
How many like Red Bulls did you have to pop for that?
None. I just struggled.
Wow, dude. That's wild. So you show when I saw you, you were like super chipper. Like, so that's good. Something worked.
I managed to get sleep once I got to the hotel. I passed out, slept for like an hour, woke up, waited like till like 10, 11 p.m., then just slept.
That's awesome. Well, a lot of people might be wondering, like, why FireMonkey? Well, multiple reasons why we have him on this cast in particular. FNCS, he was there. We'd love to hear your experience with that. Chapter 4 is coming, and he is one of the insiders of putting leaks together, detectives, if you will, to try to figure out what the heck is coming, because Chapter 4 implies a lot of big things. And so we're going to dive into that. But before we do, I want everyone to know, if you're listening to this, you probably watched FNCS, maybe on Twitch, YouTube, maybe you were there. But we do want to articulate how amazing this event is, what it's like if you were on the fence about maybe going, and what it could look like in the future of going to more events. We want to know we want you guys to know what it was like for us. So, FireMonkey, tell me your experience. What was FNCS like? And what was like maybe a favorite story or moment you had?
Yeah, FNCS was definitely interesting for me because I haven't gone to like an in-person event like this since like 2016. Like before Fortnite was the last time I really went to like something in person. So it was like there was a lot of nerves being like, do I want to go? Is this like actually what I do? Am I going to be able to exist in this space with tons of other people properly? And there was a lot of like anxiety and stuff going to it because I just wasn't used to doing that type of stuff. But it was super fun being there, and just like the experience overall was a lot of fun. Like I made a lot of good memories and stuff there, because I know on the second day when the first game had ended, I looked at my phone and I saw a Twitter notification, a DM from like someone who just follows me. They're like, "Hey, you want to meet at the mrbeast burger and take a photo?" So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna walk over there. I'm gonna take the photo with the person or whatever. I get stopped by like 4 people along the way. And that was something that was weird to me. I wasn't expecting people to really stop me as much as they did wanting photos or whatever. Because I just think I'm just Ricky. I'm just the dude.
Yeah.
And then we hung out at like the mrbeast area. And I don't know if you saw, but on Twitter, the tongue of the giant Durburger just like broke. And we were just like hanging out. It was a group of like me, my friends, Candy Wing, other creators and stuff like that, just kind of hanging out over there. And what happened was there was this person who went to like take a photo with the burger. They like leaned on the tongue, and the tongue just like snapped off. So all of us, when we realized it, just looked over there, ran to it with our phones to take photos and stuff. And it just became like a whole entire joke.
Oh, it was so funny. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, so they have this massive layout, right? Like you go in, you have to wait in line, you go in and there's a merch table, and then there's like food, and then there's this massive stage. So you can, on the left, there's all this food, and there was this collaboration with mrbeast Burger and Fortnite, and there was this massive like Burger mrbeast like variation on it there that you could take a picture with. And so everyone was taking pictures, touching it. Obviously, it's like one of those like old play toys that you would imagine is like durable enough, but definitely not durable. Some kid pulled off the tongue. And so then Fire was like essentially going back and forth, giving us like step by step, like the tongue is off. Now the tongue was glued back on. Like now the burger's gone entirely. It was very funny. Like it was such a viral moment for people on Twitter. It was
I know when it happened, I was like, I know my Twitter account, everything's based on Fortnite news, and I'm like, technically this is fine. It might not be important to anyone out there playing the game, but it's funny. So I was like just tweeting, I was like, at Candy Wing stole the tongue and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great. PM, I know you weren't watching because sports is now happening, but what was your overall take, maybe even poor take, of FNCS as a whole? What did you gather from it, and what was maybe a favorite story that you heard or seen?
Yeah, so just for preference for the listeners, when college football season is upon us, my weekends and my Friday nights are dedicated to the Oregon State Beavers, and I don't do anything but stress over that team during the weekends. So I didn't even know an FNCS was going on until you guys tweeted about it on Sunday, I think. And at that point, I was watching some Sunday night football game with my wife, and I was just like, I can't switch to a Fortnite stream right now because she's going to be like, why are we watching this? And so I unfortunately didn't watch any of it, but it seemed like the social circles really did a good job with like you know showing how amazing the event was and how well Epic did. So I'm just going to assume it was great. I'm just going to assume a lot of people loved it. I think I just hope they can do one in the summer. I kind of have an issue with events happening during major sporting events. Like this time of year, especially for a lot of people around the world, is when all four major sports are happening at once. And when you try to compete with that, in my eyes, it just doesn't really do too well. So I'm really hoping they can get back to moving like the World Cups and the FNCSs to the summer, because I feel like that's when I'm way more attentive. So.
Once again, poor take, PM, asking the world to revolve around him.
I know, right? Like I feel bad. I almost just feel like what was it? The World Cup in 2019 was in the summer, right?
I don't know when that was. I wish I would have gone.
I think it was like in June or July, because I just remember the frenzy around it. And
yeah, I just looked it up. It was July 2019.
Yeah. And part of that is because, I mean, let's be honest, no one's really watching baseball, so I think that's fine to kind of compete with that. But
Trevor's going to be pissed. Trevor's not going to
like that.
He's coming for us.
Listening. But I mean, even he would admit that there's way too many games. But still, I think they've done a great job, so I have no complaints.
And okay, so I feel like the production value of this was phenomenal. Like. If you went into this, like, imagine like a massive long LED screen that had multiple takes of like what's going on in the game, and then a massive middle screen that you could easily see everything. And then the players are in front of those screens and they have lights attached. And so if a player got eliminated, the lights would go out. So you would know if Booga is alive or not just by looking at a glance, which is really freaking cool. And then like if Storm Surge happened, like the lighting colors would change on the stage. And they just did a lot of integrative work with the game that made the spectating experience phenomenal. And so I think like if you are ever on the fence about going to one of these events, I would highly recommend just trying it out, because especially if you have like a kid or you have somebody who loves Fortnite, it is a spectacle to witness. It was World Cup was from my understanding like way more. I think they put like 7 million in the production. This I think was like about 1 million or something. So not as much, but like for that stadium and that stage, it has to be bigger. It has to be better. But
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would go to that and go, wow, they really skimped out here. They went all out to make like everybody that went to this event to really, really enjoy it. And so if you're not even a competitive follower, I still think there's value here because like an IRL event is such a different experience than watching FNCS like on Twitch or YouTube. And I like to dive into this maybe a little bit in a few of like how we can improve upon that experience. But I think like if you are anywhere on the fence, give it a go. Hopefully FNCS, they at the very end, they said, see you in 2023. Hopefully we're going to have multiple IRL events next year as IRL events are starting to roll out a little bit more.
Yeah, and I have a video going right now for people who are watching that shows the invitational stage, because this is my first time seeing it, and so we have the browser source now on the stream, and so dude, this looks crazy. Like this looks insane. I love my favorite part was the all LED thank the bus driver moment.
Yeah,
and then,
at the beginning,
big bus comes in. That's a great touch right there. So
I know where I was sitting during the FNCS thing, whenever it would like, because the lights and everything was like adding so much hype to it, just having it so interactive. So like even before the games are going on, as they're trying to like prepare for the games, they do stuff like having the whole entire crowd like cheer or whatnot. But with all the lights and everything combining with those screens, I know with the seat I was at, it was like right to the side of that main big screen. So whenever it'd be like, thank the bus driver lights would come on both the sides, blind me right in the face. Like if the bus is coming right towards me. And even though I got blinded like a million times from those lights, it still made it feel so much better than if it was just like a main screen. That was just like, thank the bus driver.
Yeah, it's incredible. So Fire, you don't strike me as like a crazy competitive watcher.
Yeah.
What was it like for you as somebody that might not be keeping up on many of these characters? I think like I was doing signings and I was like asking kids like, who do you want to win? And every time it was Clix or Booga. And mostly because Clix and Booga have the biggest presence.
Yeah.
But all of these players, like a lot of them are super talented, even more so than some of them. And so what's interesting to me is like there's people that a lot of people don't have context for. You go to this and you're like, I don't know. But then there are diehard fans out there that came just for a person. And they're like, no, I know this person. I love this person. I want this person to succeed. So I was kind of like interested by that of like, oh, did you just come here for Booga and Clix? Or did you come here for FNCS? Or are you just like trying out this experience? I'm curious of what it was like for you. Because for me, I just wanted to take in a Fortnite event. I wanted to go to experience the hype of something with high caliber players that deserve the stage and watch them duke it out. That sounded fun to me, but what was it like for you?
Yeah, so with FNCS, I originally wanted to go to it because like I wasn't really even thinking that much on like the competitive side, like the actual game or anything being played. I was mainly thinking of it like, oh, it's a Fortnite event. I have a lot of friends who might be going. I managed to convince like 2 friends to go. I was like, hey, I'll buy your ticket and everything for you ahead of time. And I originally was just planning
to go. You didn't do that for me.
I heard Candy Wing bought your ticket.
Oh no! I said plane ticket. I was like, "What?
No, not plane ticket.
We're
I meant
better
the main.
friends.
I meant the main like FNCS ticket. No, they're on their own for the planes and stuff. I'm not paying for all of that.
Bro, that supported creator code's really going far. That's great. Good for you.
No,
all right, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no plane tickets were bought by me. I'll have it. No, I drove. No one else is getting a luxury of flying a plane if I can't do it as well.
I know you took an 11-hour drive, bought 2 people plane tickets. Like, wow, thanks, Fire.
That would be definitely. I would be very generous if I was doing that. No, but I was mainly going originally just to like meet friends and stuff, meet some people who I've known online for the longest time because like there's so many people I talk to that are like, hey, you going to FNCS that I've talked to for years now because of what I do, Fortnite leaks and just Fortnite stuff in general. And I was like, oh, it's really cool. I get to meet all these people. And when I got there and stuff, obviously, I had those moments where I was just talking with people who I haven't seen in forever. I got hugged by a few friends and stuff that I haven't talked to in ages because it's like, I'm weird with the whole hugging thing because I'm just shy in person to other people. But it was like, it felt good with that stuff. And then when it came to the actual like event, the main reason for the whole entire thing happening, I had a lot of moments where I didn't think I would really be that interested in it. But because of how how, I guess, interactive it was, like in the sense of the lights and everything else going around, you being able to see like if one person has their teammate down or whatever, because the lights on their little stand would actually like blink if one of them was down.
Yeah.
That type of like added ability and added like room to see all this unique effects and whatnot made it a lot more interesting to me, to the point where I would just be sitting there, and even though I don't pay attention competitive, I'd be like actively watching, looking both like to the left and right to see, okay, what teams are left, what teams are having issues or struggling or whatever. And it was just like, it felt a lot more interesting to me just being able to feel like there was a lot more going on than just a screen showing Fortnite. Because like I've played Fortnite since 2017 at this point, played it for years now, so I know how Fortnite's played, but just having that added like effect of just the in-person feeling and all the unique stuff they put on it really made it a lot more interesting to me as someone who doesn't really pay attention to the FNCS competitive scene or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real quick. I like the way you said more than just showing a screen that's playing Fortnite. I think that's a really, really, really good point to bring up, because a lot of the times these events can just be like, oh, I'm watching essentially the same thing that, you know, someone would be doing on Twitch.
Yeah.
And so having Epic do something completely different that you don't get from Twitch is got to be crucial. And so I didn't even think about that until now, actually. So that is a really good point you brought up.
And I mean, to caveat, I feel like something that you get in a in-person event that you don't get on Twitch is this level of intimacy with the person you came for. So all of those people that are there for Booga, all those people that are there for Clicks, you watch the broadcast, even IRL, you know, you can see your player, which is awesome. But the cast itself is so they're just trying to find all the highlights within those 22 minutes, right? Like I guess like 24 when you're playing professionally, but like you're trying to capture those moments, the big moments, right? And multiple moments can be happening at the same time, but they choose one and then they might replay another. And I feel like that's part of the spectator hardship when you're watching on Twitch, is like it's jarring. Like you'll watch the cast and the cast is like, there's like lull moments where all of a sudden there's all this cool action and then it's like somebody just bandaging themselves. And they're like pivot to another scene and they're like, here's players that are next to each other just not doing anything, you know, like, and it causes like, I think people like, if you're just watching for the first time, you're like, I don't know what Fortnite is. You go, there's wow, there's like 70,000 people watching this. I'm going to check it out. And you walk in to Twitch and then you watch that. Like, I don't think you're going to be sticking around much. And I think Fortnite people that love competitive were there. They were there. But we need to get people that are not into it there as well. That's what makes the stage and like these moments big, is getting somebody who's like, I've never tried Fortnite. But then you go and you're like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, it's very kind of hard to navigate. And so I think what's hard about it is like builds in particular, it all starts to kind of feel the same, like fights. And when you're playing at their caliber, you might not even understand how they're accomplishing some of the builds and edits that they're doing. Like, it's just kind of over your head. You're like, I get editing. I don't know how this just happened, but it did. And so there's like all of these kind of blocks that I think happen. And I wonder if there's like a benefit in essentially giving Twitch the ability to grab all the players that you want to watch and put them on the side. And you can click on the player that you want to watch. Like, I'm here for Booga. So you still have the caster in your ear, but then you can click on Booga. Booga pops up. Booga lasts, let's say, you know, like 18 minutes, but then dies. Then he is like no longer fun to watch because he's dead. So then you pop that out and you see which players are still available, and you can click on another player and you can watch a game from the beginning to the end with a person and choose the main broadcast and choose like both at the same time. Like, it would be so cool if Twitch gave you the ability to do what we get to do when we're sitting in the seats, where we can watch and choose where our direction of paying attention is to keep us excited about the ending or whatnot. I feel like that's something that I feel like would be a sick Twitch tool that would really make things like FNCS be more palatable to those that are just not into Fortnite competitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
Okay. Like I know like in the past with Twitch, like they have the technology for it because a long time ago when like the Overwatch League was happening on Twitch, you could pay like the subscription fee or whatever, and then you would get access to like these extra cameras and stuff, these extra views that weren't on the main broadcast. So it's like
Yeah.
the technology's there. They just kind of have to like figure out how that would work.
Yep. Yeah.
Do
I
you
think it'd be
guys
cool.
are you guys familiar with like F1 at all?
Not really.
So they I kind of look at this like, you know, America has recently become in love with at the F1 racing because
Yeah.
of the Netflix TV show. You know, there's this huge, and it's like Drive to Survive, I think is what it's called, but they're 4 seasons into it, and I'm noticing a lot of my friend groups who are I've never seen them support driving before are now all of a sudden like these F1 fans. And I think it has a lot to do with they gain an attachment to like a certain driver. So like, the Mercedes driver or the Ferrari drivers are the, insert, whatever car brand you want drivers. And I wonder if Fortnite could do a really good job with making, viewers kind of attach themselves to one person in a similar fashion, like whether that's through like a Drive to Survive season where maybe you follow the journey of one of the competitive players throughout the seasons, or you set like you mentioned, you do a simulcast where you solely focus on your one guy and you watch his or her transition into the beginning to the end. And you can watch all the fluff. That's just fine. But like, that's your person. You want to stick there and you want to watch that. I think
it builds
that would be a
exposure,
great
right?
thing. Yeah.
So like if Booga gets eliminated by Prospering, and someone's like, I don't know who Prospering is, but I'll watch him. He just eliminated Booga. Then you watch him and you're like, this guy's funny. This guy's awesome. This guy like is really talented, and I didn't know. That guy's getting a follow on Twitch. Like it adds to itself. Like you can become more fans. You can have more fans, be more involved with your players that perform on this level. Like I feel like that's just such an additive rather than just there's always like one or two massive people on Twitch and it's not spread out at all.
Did Booga and Clicks even compete in this one?
Yeah, both of them
they did. So like even then I didn't know. Like
right.
I feel like Fortnite could do a better job of marketing their own talent, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And getting people. I mean, like, again, I really hate to do this to relate it back to basketball because that seems to be the theme of the season. But the NBA did a fantastic job when Michael Jordan came out by saying, hey, this is the guy who's going to lead us into the next dawn of the sport. We're going to market him as the guy. And all of a sudden, Allen Iverson came out of the woodworks and all these marketable figures came out of it. And I feel like Fortnite can be like, hey, Booga's a huge household name. He might not be the best competitively, but we're going to push him to be the GOAT and put him on these places. Same with Click, same with these big names. And then all of a sudden you'll start seeing people kind of like find other players to become fans of.
Totally.
And I think they could definitely go down that route.
And Fortnite does a great job of storytelling. I mean, they can't do a, battle bus story on all of these guys, but I do think maybe a micro scale, right? Like if you're able to get like a 30-second like clip montage of them or like something put together, we have a little bit more context for each of the players. Like there was like a heavy Brazil group that were there, and they were just like every time someone from their team was on camera, that side was roaring and freaking out. And so I feel like to be able to go, I wonder why. Like I don't know. I'm just sitting there like that's awesome that they have that energy. But I would be cool to know, like it would be cool to have something like that there. And so I'm curious about that as well. Like I'm curious of how all that will navigate itself. But ultimately, if you haven't gone to one, you should at least. And hopefully there's a lot more of those. Hopefully it was a successful event to where there will be. And I also thought it was really funny that you mentioned about hugs, Ricky, because I was sitting at a signing booth, Cypher PK, Somerset, replays, and it's Jarian. We're all chilling. And
all of them.
there I am, this guy comes around.
You want to hold that up one more time? Actually, I'm going to do a full cam for people. 1 second. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Got a little Squatingdog logo. I was thinking about actually signing as Cypher. How funny that would be, like to sign as Cypher, and then it would go down to him, and then it would be hilarious. But anyways, we did a little signing thing with Epic. It was a lot of fun. A lot of kids came out, and they were just super stoked. But saw this guy with his little hat on, and was like, no shot. So I got up, went around and gave him the biggest hug. I was like, get this guy on the booth, like, get him over here. He doesn't even have pens at this event. But yeah, like it was so nice meeting you in person. I feel like that was the biggest takeaway for me, is like meeting somebody face to face amplifies friendship across the board. It's like going to camp. I don't know if you guys ever went to camp, but like you might be somewhat of a friend with somebody, and then you go to camp and you become best friends, and you're like, because you spend all this time, in the same area, and you actually build like friendship like in a different way than online. And I just felt like a direct connection with you after that moment. I'm like, dude, this guy's great. Like I love this dude. Like, this is awesome. So I don't know if you felt that, but I feel like any of the IRL relationships that I have maintained, I like just double fold towards like friendship, which is cool.
Yeah, I know. One thing that I personally thought, because like I met a lot of people that I talked to for years online at the event, including you. And it's like, even if it was like short moments together, like just us hugging, getting that signed, and then kind of us going on our own way, which we did meet up a second time over at like the mrbeast burger, and we talked for a little bit. It's just, it's like being with someone online is one thing, but like being in the actual like presence physically with someone is just like a different feeling. And especially if you've known someone online for the longest time, it just like, it feels like it's more of like a special moment, because it's just like you can see this person, you can hug them, you can talk about stuff, and it's different than just if my profile picture was like on a Discord call, like, hello, you want to play Fortnite?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So if you're listening, be sure to check it out. While we were there was two major things that happened. One was Cammy and Seti dropping on the number 2 team right at the beginning for a 50-50, finalizing them as the FNCS champions, which is a really big deal for esports as a whole, because it was outside of the norm of how you normally play the game. And I like big ball move, honestly, big balls. Like seriously, like I cannot tell you how proud I am of those two for pushing that, because we're used to the same gameplay, same thing, same, you're trying your best to mitigate as much opportunity for being in the end game and being first and taking the high ground at the right time. We've seen it all a million times. And these guys were like, hey, the only team that can stop us is the second team. They're the only people. So let's just drop on them and eliminate them right at the beginning. And they did it. And it was like, we already know who wins. Like, that was a crazy experience. Everybody that was there was like freaking out, losing their minds. Like, it was awesome. If you get to experience that, go look back at that clip. It's such a big deal.
And we are playing it right now on the video for anyone.
Oh, great! So, yeah. So I mean, this is just a moment that like we need more of, because that's going to go viral. That's going to be big. More people are going to be interested in FNCS. More people are going to go next year. Like that like doubles down on itself. And I really hope that we can get more kids to think that way when they play the game, like strategically, rather than just what they know, what's in their wheelhouse, right? And so like there's a lot of players that were probably on the bottom the whole time, and I'm curious of their stories. Like, I wonder if they ever decided to change up their drop spot. I wonder if they ever thought that maybe they should take out the number 1 player. I know there's like etiquette there, Vino at the end flipped off the camera, and that became a whole meme because they lost, and they were like getting first was shattered from them. But like those moments make the scene even bigger. And what was funny is I was sitting with Prospering had to go to the restroom. He left. That happened. And then after that, the screen gets all chromed up, and then boom, chapter 4 Fracture gets announced. And then Prospering comes back and goes, what did I miss? I'm like, literally everything, bro.
The biggest part about the entire thing is just
literally everything. And so let's dive into chapter 4. well, it's confirmed. We've been talking about this on the podcast. Is it going to be season 5? Is it going to be chapter 4? And I'm proud to announce that I am the best at calling these things. But chapter 4 is here, and that's really, really freaking exciting. What did you guys think of that announcement?
I thought the announcement was like very interesting because like even before FNCS happened, I did a poll on Twitter because there's been so many people being like, "Oh, it's Chapter 3, Season 5. Oh, it's going to be Chapter 4, Season 1." There's like so much discourse based on like leaks and rumors going around over what are they going to do. It's like we've only been in this chapter for a year. Are they really going to just put us into another one or whatever? And just seeing like them basically say, "Hey, here's the live event. It's Chapter 4. That's what's happening next." Just made it feel like a lot more hype, because if it was just like, here's a live event, next season's Chapter 3, Season 5, I feel that it might have like less hype, because knowing that we're about to flip a page or whatever, go to an entirely new chapter, just makes it feel like, oh, there's got to be really big stuff happening here, especially for it to get announced live at an in-person event like this with special effects like the screen chroming up.
Yeah, absolutely. PM, did you even know it happened?
Yeah, no, I did. I saw it on Twitter, and how I know it happened was I actually got into a little Twitter argument with someone through a HypeX tweet, because I was like, HypeX said something. They were like, "Oh, I don't know what this update is for, but for this," and I'm like, and then I did like the CHP and then a dash, like, "Oh, never mind. I'll shut up." And then everyone was like, "No, bro, it's gonna be season blank. Like, you don't know. Like, this one guy knows and you don't." And I'm like, remind me of this in two weeks. And then this came out and I responded with, "Hey, LOL," and I did like the quote retweet. So that was the first thing I did. But no, I saw it immediately and sent it to my friend group, and I was like, this is gonna be sick. Fortnite does the best events, and so I'm just excited about the event. I turn into a nerd when a Fortnite event comes in, and I actually rewatch every previous event in order leading up to it. So I'm gonna have to do that again here soon. So I'm super excited for it, and I am glad it is not a 1 a.m. 11 p.m. situation. Like it's a 1 p.m. final event for West Coast, 4 p.m. East Coast. Like I can actually be up, be happy, be alert, and watch something, you know. And I like the fact that they're aware of that. So
yeah, I wonder if we're gonna have a crazy downtime. I'm sure we will. Probably like a day or two. I always think now at this point we're used to that, you know, which is funny because like it was like okay, so Black Hole was crazy, and then the water one I think was kind of lame. Like it was just like, oh, I'm floating in the water unconscious.
Yeah. It's like, oh, here's a chair randomly flying by every once in a while.
I know people were watching it just as like much as people were watching Black Hole because there was numbers and stuff. Yeah, I kind of really hope that for this next transition we have something that we can do, like a game we can play together as a community. Otherwise, Cypher PK will be pissed.
I actually loved the Black Hole event. I remember
it was great
being glued to it, and my now, I guess, girlfriend at the time which is now wife, she was just like, "This is so stupid," and I'm like, "Look, you don't get this. There's these numbers, they mean something. I have to dissect it."
We're
Ninja
putting
said
the
Taco
numbers
Tuesday.
together.
You know, I gotta, Ninja did that video in bed when he said Taco Tuesday with the lights off. It was very creepy, but I still need to figure this out, and I think if Fortnite can bring back that feeling, that'd be great. The water one was pretty boring. Yeah.
I know. I remember with the original Black Hole, just because I still streamed on Twitch at the time, just having like a whole 24 plus hours of me just watching a black hole, talking to the community, trying to figure out what's going on, and like tweeting, "Oh, number 17 appeared on screen for 3 seconds," and stuff like that. It was like there was so much hype from seeing just nothing, basically. Yeah.
The one thing I would love to do is do a really long Twitter space with a bunch of people just to get really random theories, because I think that would be good content, especially when downtime happens. If there is like a black hole, do like a never-ending Twitter space where people just come in and give their theories. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's a funny thing, but I feel like the word fracture. What do we make of the word fracture? What does that mean to you guys in terms of like typically? I mean, there's a word associated, right? And it usually is very heavily thematic of what's going on. So fracture to me means breaking the 0 point, or the
Mhm.
0 point is cracked in some capacity, which we've kind of had unstable 0 points. We've had all sorts of weird stuff with the 0 point, but I feel like they need to make something happen that's different than tampering with the 0 point. What happens if the 0 point breaks? That's what I want to know. And if the 0 point breaks, does that mean all realities are on the island? That means like imagine a pizza that you've cut, and there's pies that are like, here is, I don't know, like chapter 1, and here's another one that's like the future, and here's one that's like, I don't know, SpongeBob SquarePants. Like what if it's fractured so much that the island is splintered in pies? And I would hope, this is me like going way probably too far than what they actually did, but what if those pies change over the season, right? Like SpongeBob SquarePants becomes Nickelodeon at night. I don't know. Like, I'm just coming up with stuff. But like we have all of these IPs that they have built friendship, relationship, connection, made lots of money with. Why not POIs associated like Gotham or whatever that we've had in the past, but a whole splintered area of that? That's where my mind goes with Fracture. What about you guys?
I know with the word fracture, I have like a I typically try to keep my theories tame when it comes to events and stuff, but for fracture I've been thinking a lot more about it than like previous ones. And like as we saw with like the collision live event, the previous live event we had, there was the collider. I was like, hey, it uses the same name, this is the main focus. And then obviously we had stuff where like they tried making, if I remember correctly, the 0 point like collide with those like little crystal things up at the top of the event.
Yep.
And there was a lot of stuff there that related to that name, which makes me think that, oh, hey, there's going to be a lot of stuff at this event that relates to the theme of stuff fracturing. And your whole entire theory about like different parts of the island being like pies was one of the things I thought of as well. Cause it's like, if we have something fracture, like we know the 0 point, for example, it can go to different like worlds or whatever. It can pull stuff in from it, and like stuff can go out of it or whatever. And it's like, if the 0 point does fracture, could that create like a situation where like we have it's kind of like weird to say it, but it's like a situation where, like you said, we have tons of different parts. So like this area is chapter 1. It's like, this is like desert from chapter 1 or something. This area is full of snow or something like that during like chapter 2. And just tons of these different areas where the 0 point has basically been fractured, like the event name, and it's causing stuff to like glitch out or change over time, because like we've had like those glitch consumables before that would change items every few seconds. And it's like they obviously do a lot with that 0 point. They obviously use like rifts and stuff to make certain collaborations or whatnot come to the island. We have had the rift bubbles before, where it was like, oh, this area gets completely changed and stuff like that. So it's like, it's obviously something they've played around with, and I feel that they could really take it to the next level and do like the next extreme to it by messing around with just the island basically being in chaos from maybe like the 0 point fracturing or something. And personally, for me, when it comes to this event, I just kind of want to see the bad guys win.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Yeah. Where they're like, yeah, everything that we know about Jonesy's just like, nope. Everything you tried to do, nope. Like, that'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's like a big theme we've seen, even like back to when we had like the Cube Queen and everything, was this the nothing. And we've been hearing about the nothing a lot more as we've continued this season. So it's like, what if we see like the Cube Queen return or something like that? What if we start seeing just all of these characters that were on the opposing side, the characters that we thought we were done with or whatever, come back, whether it be through the Chrome mechanic or something like that, because Chrome's been taken over the island, and it causes the bad guys to win, and they get their way with the 0 point.
Yeah, I mean, like, and in some ways, the bad guys, I think, if we call them IO, right? Like, they've been in charge of the 0 point for quite a while. So it'd be just like a new bad guy using some pretty incredible tools. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. PM, you got anything on Fracture?
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind, and I'm gonna link it to you guys here in the chat so you guys can see it, and then I'll pull it up on stream too. Is that moment from one of the events where that stream flew by where the graphics changed? Do you remember when like the 0 point was imploding, and they're like, oh, it launched that wave, and all of a sudden there was like this really weird new graphic?
Yeah.
that like had like a new engine and a new design to it or whatever that looked like photorealistic in a sense.
Right.
I feel like this goes 2 points. One, Epic has this insane engine that's like, hey, we're gonna make these graphics like incredible, and we're just gonna fracture this entire system and restart and make this thing great. My other hopeful theory is, like you guys mentioned, the 0 point becomes this unstable device that can't even control itself, and every time you go into the battle bus, it actually changes the map to whatever the 0 point randomizes it. So like all those reality waves that are going by are changing everything. You know, we've talked about it on the pod before about how crazy creative would be if like your drop spot was different one day from the next.
Yeah.
Or like one game to the next, your drop spot was gone. And so I feel like it'd be so cool if like you're getting off the bus and all of a sudden, you know, I love Shifty. All of a sudden now that's tilted, or all of a sudden now that's like something from chapter 1 that was in like update 2. Or whatever, and like it just constantly changes. I think that would be super sick, and I'm hopeful for that. But
well, I mean, if we think about it, this last season we've had that on POIs, right? So Flutter Barn could be 3 different types of variants of itself when you drop. That is, in my mind, them testing something for something. Right? Like that's just kind of how Fortnite has worked in the past. They'll try something out, like sand tunneling. And sand tunneling was cool and all, but it was dependent upon where you were. Now we have Chrome. Chrome came from sand tunneling. It's just like a more like, I don't know, acrobatic way of using it. So in my mind, this name Fracture could look back at the things that they've tested, like an area, a POI that you drop at that changes every once in a while. You're like, dang it, it's this version of I don't know this one as well. Like you're a little bit off. But imagine like a map that was made that there's 10 different variants of that map. One is a Gotham version of it. One is a chapter 1 version of it. I know you're out there. Bring back the chapter 1 map. You guys are the worst. It's like, let me go back to my flip phone. I want to use my flip phone. You're going to be like, you look at your flip phone. You're going to use it for 2 seconds. And then you're going to put it, take a picture with it with your iPhone. And then you're going to leave and go back to your iPhone. Like you're going to be bored of it.
If you could tell me one last time I could drop Shifty, rotate to the little village, rotate to Greasy, and then rotate to soccer field, I would do it right now. I would do it right this second because I missed that rotation. And I wish I had that feeling back. But I agree. I think after a certain point, I would just be like, this is so boring.
They need a fresh take on it, right?
Yeah.
And so if it's shared with all of this like new mechanics, like I feel like that would make the map really, really cool.
Why bring back a map or make a new map when you can constantly change the current one every game?
Because I think zero builds. If we think about this map, Chapter 2 was built under the premise of builds completely. So with 0 builds, things like mobility, things like navigating like up hills and stuff, there isn't as many tools. You can actually get stuck if you don't have mobility at all on the current map. And so I think my best guess is they are going to cater a little bit more to 0 builds, offering better cover in different areas, offering like better mobility tools, and hopefully giving the game like a fresh take, like a feeling of a fresh take, which like if you have the same map and you just change 3 POIs, it really doesn't feel crazy different. Like the Halloween event is a good example, right? We had the tree
about that,
that turned into like a rave tree, and then we had a house off in the distance, and all of these like changes that they've been making and lack of changes because of bugs has always been because there's a new map right around the corner. And so everything that we had talked about, like, why don't they fix this? Why don't they fix this? Why don't they fix this? It's because they probably have in the future, like just not now. And we have to wait for it. So that's my best guess is like, I think they're going to try their best to cater to 2 different game types as a whole and make a map that complements both of those game types, not just one.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just completely agree with it. Like I also would like to push back and say like, you know, you were saying they wouldn't do that because of no builds. I think Fortnite just loves chaos. Like, and I truly don't think they sit there and go, oh, this one hill by Rave Cave isn't going to be great for no builds. I think they're like, dude, I don't care. Give them shockwaves, give them grenade launchers, give them crash pads, give them launch pads, give them everything. Chaos, go. And so I think they just, someone sits there and their job is dedicated to, does this cause chaos? And if it's yes, ship it. If not, chaos. Let's fix it and let's try to make it, as chaotic as possible.
Just that.
Yeah, exactly. So, can you find 4 different game-breaking bugs in one day with this one item? Cool, send it, go. So, I think
just someone at Epic Games has just
it's
like a board.
Dave.
The chaos meter. They just have like a How chaotic is this? Let's see.
You
down here.
They didn't build the what is it? The launch pad and the bounce pads and think, oh wow, what if you put these two together? They didn't build like that in mind, and then when they saw it, they were like, this is perfect. Like this is what we need.
The chaos guy is like,
chaos.
yes.
So
the chaos is off the charts today.
That's great. Okay, I'm gonna share something that I think is gonna happen, and I want your guys' take on it. The most random thing at FNCS was one thing, and we talked about it previously. It was the Mr. Beast Burger X Fortnite. It was like this massive sign, massive production value, this backdrop, massive burger that looks different, kind of like the Durr Burger, but different. I think, guys, there's no reason for that to be there other than we're going to get some sort of Mr. Beast collaboration. I think we're going to get an icon series, and I think it's going to be freaking Jimmy that you can change to turn him into his version of the Beast Burger, and I think it's happening.
I could definitely see it happening as well, because like at FNCS, you had like the giant sign and everything. It's like Mr. Beast Burger. You could buy one right next to the giant sign or whatnot, but it's like it kind of just felt out of place because like they teased it last minute, like in the email they sent to people going. It's like there will be a special food item, and then it was like you go there and it's like, oh, there's a Mr. Beast Burger thing here, and then of course you have like the official Twitter account for Mr. Beast Burger talking about the Durr Burger and stuff out of nowhere, and it's just like, okay, so why would they hype it up like this
just for 2,000 people?
An in-person thing for 2 days. And it's like we've seen games owned by Epic Games have Mr. Beast in it, like Fall Guys. They have a Mr. Beast skin. So it's like they have that connection already. Yep. And it definitely could be something. And like I could see it happening.
What do you think, PM? It's a hot take.
I think this is a pretty much a foregone conclusion. Like, I hate to wait. Is like I hate to just be like the ball breaker on that, but I feel like if Fortnite's that obvious with, and I have the image up for video, Mr. Beast Burger X Fortnite, and it's like right there in your face. I think it's probably like hey, there's going to be something in the future here.
Yeah,
with Mr. Beast. It's funny.
It felt weird. It felt weird when I was there. I was like, this is cool for. Just this, just me, just these guys. Like, we didn't get any merch out of it. There was nothing outside of like this cool looking burger.
Yeah, I don't even think you can buy it like from the Mr. Beast app.
No.
At least they never advertised it as you could.
Yeah, no, it's just super random, and it's like, okay, so this is happening, which is
I think Fortnite is just at this point. If you think Fortnite's going to collaborate with someone, they're probably going to collaborate with someone.
Or already have been for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think nothing's off the table when it comes to who collaborates with them. They've done a fantastic job with partnering up with people, and so I wouldn't be surprised if more comes out of this.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I know, right? I wouldn't personally speaking, I probably wouldn't buy it just because I don't really understand Mr. Beast. And I don't really understand his content.
Poor
but
take PM.
I respect him in what he's built, and so I think he's probably a great person. And all
he just passed up PewDiePie for the most subscribers.
Yeah. Oh, did he?
That's crazy.
Just this last day.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, props to him. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, what he's doing is obviously working. It's just not my cup of tea.
I just think he got really into Minecraft out of like he used to be really into Fortnite and then just stopped and was like into Minecraft. I'm like, bro, come back. He actually donated on my channel for how many times I blinked. and I don't blink when I stream. So I found this out through Mr. Beast. Thanks, man. But yeah, like he, straight up, like he was like, however many, and he didn't say this, but like he would go to stream and go, however many times this guy blinks in the next minute. And I was like, just not blinking. And then he was like, I think 3. So I got $300. I was like, now I'm like this when I play the game. If you're wondering why I'm going through like a seizure or something, that's why, is because of Mr. Beast. But I do think like we haven't seen him in Fortnite in a while. He hasn't talked about Fortnite. And so maybe this could be a really cool thing where he's got a creative map. He's got an icon skin, kind of like Cypher PK.
Creative map's a good one.
And he does a YouTube video on it, right? Where he's like, I got 100 players in my map and blah, 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 blah. And so I can see this happening. I can see it happening real soon. If they're I saw FNCS as kind of a bunch of just teasers, and that was the biggest obvious teaser in my head, which is interesting.
Which is interesting because this is the second time the Durr Burger physically has had a teaser, right?
Yeah.
Because in the first one in the
desert,
in the desert, they placed the burger just somewhere randomly, and so I think they really love that burger. So.
Well, and the take on it's fun. Like Mr. Beast burger version of a Durr Burger is going to be real fun. And they could take it one step further. You never know here. Fortnite is this crazy. Mr. Beast is trying to create a franchise of Durr Burgers. What if Fortnite joins in on that? And it's like the official Durr Burger Fortnite collaboration for food and in-game. Like that would be something that they could pull off.
If they made a Durr Burger, I'm there day one. I'm lining up for it.
Yeah.
Well, I know one thing I'd actually talked about with some friends before even FNCS happened, before we knew about the Mr. Beast Burger collaboration, is like we jokingly talked about what if like, because the Mr. Beast Burger thing's like a ghost kitchen, right? It's like you can't physically typically go to one of them. It's you just order online. And like we're seeing like Five Nights at Freddy's is doing their own type of ghost kitchen thing. What if we had like a Fortnite similar ghost kitchen thing where it's like you can buy Durr Burgers, you can buy like Pizza Pete type stuff and all that type of stuff. Fortnite
Slurp juice.
Food. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We went to a little Fortnite event Fortnite put on, and they had like a Slurp juice like sign on it, and everyone made a big deal of it. But it's like that stuff went viral. It's just like weird. Yeah. Like I do think that and every time you go to an in-game event, they usually do something. They did this really strongly before all the stuff with COVID. Where they would have like Durr Burger slushies and like a taco joint from the taco guy. Like they do that really well. And so that immersion, it reminds me of old McDonald's, you know?
I was just going to say,
you know what I mean?
Like
it feels like old McDonald's, but it's actually relevant and cool to kids now. Like if that was an actual shop, I'm pretty sure kids would flock to it. Much like Mr. Beast, when he did his first grand opening of his first burger spot, like millions of people showed up. It was wild. And so I don't know. I wouldn't put it past these two crazy freaking guys, Fortnite and Jimmy, to make something like that happen. I would love to be there and see it firsthand if it does.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we've even seen Fortnite do kind of like a pop-up restaurant before with like the El Taco Reyes thing that was in person. Yes. You could go there. You could, like a pin, but also food.
Yeah.
I don't drink,
that would be crazy. That would be so cool. I hope it happens.
I don't drink, but I would love to see them turn like a Slurp juice into like a vodka drink. I think that
oh my gosh.
adults who play the
for
game
adults,
would love that. Yeah, I think they would love that.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about a few things. Another thing that was interesting when I was up at FNCS, we're around Epic employees quite a bit. That would have been really funny if they knew who you were, Fire, and they're like escorted you out. They're like, no.
Yeah, that was one thing I was worried about. I'm like,
you're a leaker. You cannot be here.
I'm like, what if I bought a ticket? You know, I went on the 10-hour drive and then I get kicked out because they know who I am, and I'm just like, what if this happens? What if it's like leakers aren't even allowed in here? I'd be like, oh man.
If that would have happened, I would have gave you my stuff and just said, you're now Squatingdog. Get your butt in there, you know?
I feel like the people who are even there attending it don't get paid enough to even care. They're just like, dude, whatever. We have to sit back and think of it like the people who work at Epic are working a job, and so when they're doing events, it's probably in their off time, and they're like, I don't care. Yeah. They're like, do whatever you want. So.
Well, I know with the event, one thing that was kind of like a theme or something that happened was like there was the main, obviously, convention center security and stuff, and there were like no re-entries. But if you talk to an Epic employee, they would let you back in. So it was there was the main security that was strict about it and everything, and then you have the Epic employees who are like, I don't care if you leave and come back.
Just follow me.
Yeah, just get in.
Yeah. So what was interesting is I was like hanging out with a lot of Epic employees. Love them. Love all of them. They're incredible people. And I kept using the term creative 2.0. There's a lot of creative map makers there, tons of them, like tons, like all of the teams that work on some of the biggest stuff that we see that are broadcasted or pushed out from Fortnite. You know, you got the Soundwave series people, you got the people that made, like Immature Gamer made the whole like landing, what is it called?
Legends
FNCS
Landing.
Legends Landing.
Yeah.
And so all of these guys are there. And I, would be like, you guys excited about Creative 2.0? And I would get corrected like nonstop. Like it's not Creative 2.0. It's not Creative 2.0. I'm like, what is it? Apparently the term is UEFN. And what's crazy about this is Sweeney just recently said that it's delayed to January. So I think they were hoping to have a package deal, right? Like, here's our editor and here is chapter 4. Let's go. But now we have chapter 4 without the editor, and it's only a month, so it's not crazy. But a lot of people are blowing it out of proportion. But what's interesting, what's interesting about it is that when I was talking to some of these guys, a lot of them have had access to these tools for a while. Like, they've had access to UEFN for a while. So when it goes live, I think what they try to do is, like, it's like the Rocket League car. It got added into creative first, and then now it's in game. But so when it goes in game and everyone's like, whoa, the Rocket League card's here. All of these map makers have had this time to be able to create maps for it so that they could play a racing game or whatever it is. Like, so what I find funny is, like, I wonder how long these guys have been working on specific maps that are going to come out when January hits, and kind of give people the tools to go, like, this is what you're capable of. Right. So I didn't try to like leech any information of like what they were working on. I could have. I was like, I'm not gonna put people in weird spots. But like, it just I can imagine that these guys have been creating some really cool stuff, and when it goes live, we will have a bunch of things that people could look up to as here's something that is possible. Which my hope is like full on Fortnite-esque drops where you're jumping out of a battle bus and you're like on a map that they've created, a world that they've created, but it has the pump shotgun or the double pump or whatever stupid thing people on the internet want. Like, it'll have those things, and they can all, like, the 4 of them can go eliminate each other again and again.
Yeah, and it feels like the Battle Royale map is getting more and more creative, put into creative mode over time, because it's like recently we've seen you can now play the Battle Royale map and customize like the loot pool and everything through creative mode, and they're going to be phasing out like battle labs for creative Battle Royale and all that type of stuff. And like with Late Game Arena, or the most recently released Big Battle, I think it's called, where it's 40v40.
Yeah.
That's through like that creative Royale thing where it's like it's the Battle Royale map, but in creative mode with these slight modifications and stuff. So, and like, I could just see it happening more and more, because like on the map right now over at Tilted Towers, we have those like 3 blocks that are made by the community, and those were placed there kind of using that creative, I guess UEFN system, not Creative 2.0.
Right. No, that's a great example. Like, Tilted Towers as a whole was built by people in creative, but it's like translated to UEFN, which is crazy. So yeah, the amount of tools that we'll have is going to be pretty wild, and I'm like pretty pumped about the future of it.
I know personally for me, whenever I think about like UEFN and all that stuff, I really see Fortnite as a game that wants to eventually compete with like Roblox.
Yes. Yep.
Roblox,
like, you're going to have Minecraft, all of that. Like, yeah, absolutely. I think like that's the future, right? Like, is to be the dominant space of playing. And then what's interesting is like, a lot of Epic employees were telling me they don't want to for you to say like, I'm playing Fortnite creative. They don't want that because the stigma attached. I think creative as it's been has been a glitchy, poor experience for a majority of players. That's kind of gimmicky. And I think what they want you to say is, I want to play the box fighting. I want to play box fights. or I want to play whatever it is, like the specific creative game. They really want to brand the name of it. I want to play Soundwave series, right? I want to play whatever it is. Like I think they want to move away from creative being its own entity, and whatever you created is its thing. And that is the thing you want to play. Snipers versus runners, whatever it is, right? Like they want the name associated to be the thing that sells the product rather than creative.
Yeah,
so that's why I think I got corrected all the time. Like, no, it's not Creative 2.0. It's not.
Yeah, so instead of like, I could see it as them, instead of wanting you to be like, oh, hey, you want to play creative mode? You just like casually, instead of mentioning creative a whole, be like, oh, do you want to play insert survival map name?
Yep.
Well, I already
in
do
Fortnite.
that technically with my friends. Like we have, I'll text a group and be like, hey, do you guys want to play BIOS Trios? And you guys probably don't know what BIOS is, but it's a Zone Wars map, and we do BIOS Trios or BIOS Duos. And and we don't say, hey, does anyone want to play creative and do some box fights? We just go BIOS ? And that's like everyone's like, oh, cool, yeah, we know this. Let's go.
Well, I meant more like just not even thinking about creative at all whenever you're going to play something. Just thinking, hey, we're playing Fortnite, not Fortnite creative mode specifically.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think a lot of their UI UX changes kind of lead to that, because nowadays you don't even need to open the creative portal. You can just find the place that you're looking for as if it was a battle royale game mode. So
and favoriting maps is really getting easier and easier to kind of find your stuff. They do need a UI overhaul though.
Dude,
I hope that happens with the new chapter. I hope that they kind of take it upon themselves to do some of those things.
Yeah.
But that's a big deal. Like it's going to be, I think, the integration of Chapter 4 and, this new UEFN is going to be bigger than we think, because I think they wanted it to release at the same time. I think there's something significant there that we'll hopefully see in the future of Fortnite. Like maybe, it's like your map gets placed in the actual game. The main click, whatever you've created on the map, like you can have your fractured piece be shown. I don't know, like the capability of that, I think is there.
Chaos, baby.
Chaos. And so with that being said, right, like there's a lot of things that I think Epic has teased for you guys, like the leakers have like looked in the files like, whoa. Yeah. What is this weird thing that just showed up that has no effect on anything right now? I think there's a few things that we can look back on to expect moving forward. And so I've listed a few of these, and I'm curious of your guys' thoughts. But the first one would be, and I think hopefully happens, because in a new chapter, typically there is new things that come.
Yeah.
Right. So like chapter 2 introduced vehicles, right? Chapter 3, 0 builds, but that more importantly, maybe like vaulting and sprinting and sliding and all that stuff. Like, so I'm wondering what chapter upgrade, the things that they will wait for a chapter. Sometimes they'll build it and they'll have it, but they won't implement it until there's a new chapter, because it adds way more hype than just, it's just this. It's why'd you call it a chapter if it's a season,
Yeah.
So that change of pace, there are new things that come with that. And so the first one I think that is pretty obvious that I think we're going to be getting is what I'd like to call weapon attachments. What do you guys think of that?
Real quick, while you're saying that, I'm going to transition to pull up the thing, but that actually got leaked on December 27th, 2020.
Right, a long time ago.
The weapon attachment. So
I'm just
putting your argument into context about how they put things way back and then bring it back all the way forward 2 years later.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I know what I was going to say is like with weapon attachments, there's definitely a lot of systems they can do, because it's like whenever you play the game, you obviously have the weapons or whatever, and it probably wouldn't make sense to like predetermine you want a suppressor on your gun or something before you're in a match. So they could have like a system, because like we've had the whole entire crafting system and all that stuff where you would get the gun, it could potentially drop with like, let's say, a scope on it or something by default, but you would have like a menu in your inventory where you could find like an attachment on the ground in a chest or something, and you would be able to put that attachment on a gun or take it off depending on how you would want it. And it's like they've obviously tinkered with systems before, because we have vehicle modifications and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep. And it would have to be simple, right? Like and simplicity is key here.
Yeah.
So like it was crazy that whole season where you had weapon mods and you can change things, like upgrade them or whatever by grabbing
Yeah.
parts and stuff. That was only for that season and it's been gone. Like it's fascinating to me, like them trying it out and going, okay, we got a lot of feedback here. And then going back to make sure it's well implemented, right? Like they didn't overextend themselves too much with it, but they did try a part of that out. And I feel like we've got so many games now where they've simplified this process pretty easily, where you're not in your menu getting destroyed. Very like, like we've got Valorant who does it, or not Valorant, Apex, and then we've got COD. Obviously, they have like simplified these processes pretty well, and I think Fortnite's been paying attention to a lot of that. And we've also had a lot of ailments, if you will, of like fire damage or the silencer that tracks, or like these mechanics that you could put a mythic variant on of like, and here you have that great pistol and you put this silencer on and now you have this really cool weapon. Like I feel like that could be something that we'll see added to chapter 4. I hope that's something we see in chapter 4.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I just wanted to say that like I think you mentioned the primal season when they launched the combination of weapons, kind of like leveling up
like
per
a
se.
tree of where you want to go with it.
Yeah.
And again, that kind of reminds me of the sand with the chrome thing. Like they did the sand, they were like, cool, that has good things, we'll put it into the chrome. They're probably going to look at that information from the primal and be like, cool, that has some good things, we'll put it into the attachments. My biggest concern is they don't make it really complicated. Like Call of Duty is a great game. I really don't understand their weapons attachment system, and that's mainly because the way they name it is stuck with like traditional gun names. And so I don't understand what the AR attachment is because they give you the real name. And so I'm just really hoping that they could really dumbify it and simplify it to be like, oh cool, this is just an AR scope. This is a long range scope. This is a silencer. This is this and this. And I feel like if they can do that, that would be awesome. And something that doesn't take 30 seconds to do in game, because that could be the difference between someone sneaking up on you and eliminating you, or you're trying to upgrade your weapon from a gray pistol to a gray pistol with a scope. And like I don't think people are going to want to do that, so they have to find a way to make it really quick and simple.
Well, I mean, if you break it down to basics, right? You got a base AR, like a burst AR, a shotgun, auto shotgun. You got an SMG. You got a sniper rifle, and then you got like explosions or like rocket launchers, kind of like a different tier of weapon in of itself. You can break that down, right? Like you can have a specific magazine that is like has a different rarity to it. So you pick up a magazine that's a specific rarity, that and then apply that to whatever gun. Then you get that much more ammo for it or whatever. You get a silencer or not silencer. You get a scope or thermal scope or a regular scope. You can add the small things to make it better. So like those that like, and we've seen this happen. We've had ARs that don't have any scope, and then we've had ARs that do have scopes. And it was like I think they were testing these things out to see how people play with it. Do they like it? Well, we did. The AUG was an amazing weapon because of that red dot.
Bring
and so
back the MK, yeah.
And so now what you can do is just take that whole idea, pop that scope out and put it on whatever gun you like. That then enhances your play style. Or if you don't like it, don't use the scope, don't put it on. And so I think that's what they're trying to do, and that's what we've seen this whole chapter is them trying to balance their weapons. Really, like it's just been a balanced weapon fest. Like SMGs have been super powerful, they've made them more powerful for some reason. They're like, okay, don't know if that's like how it engages with builds. There's just so much there that if you were to just throw out like weapon attachments, I think it would be even more chaos. The chaos guy would be stoked, but the people that are trying to actually balance the game would be really frustrated. And so I think that's what we are looking at, is like the future of Fortnite is eventually going there. And I wonder if chapter 4 will be it. And I think maybe it will, because typically a new chapter means new guns entirely.
Yeah. New chapter. Like I remember back in like chapter 1, before we even had the whole chapter naming thing, it was like the big hype was, oh, this season we got a new item type, whether it be like pets at the time or wraps and stuff like that. And it seems like it shifted over time from being each season we get that new big thing to each chapter. It's like, here's a lot of big things we've worked on during like the previous chapter that we wanted to combine and ship for this new experience, make it a lot more special.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I think is coming based off of a few of Sweeney's texts and Hypex's is a new cosmetic type. And this has been codenamed apparel. And so this is the ability to equip multiple items to this thing. And my guess is, based off of what Sweeney is looking for in creating the metaverse, is you at home, you got to support a creator code. Congratulations. Well, now in our program, you can get your logo on a shirt and get that approved and sell your logo or your style or your thing to the people that are supporting you. So you can plop on a shirt. And so we have seen this already. And this is, we're going to go back in time. We've had outfits like the superhero outfits where their logo is put right on, like all of those things that you collect that you're like, why do I have these? Boom. You can now have it on your character. You also have all of these people who, like, you get all of these the weapon wraps. Those wraps can now be on outfits, and it makes the outfit look cooler. Now imagine a combination of using other wraps that they've created over a long time now and your logo being integrated together in an outfit or a thing that can be put together. So you can buy the outfit for however much, and you can go to Squatingdog's shop and get his Squatting Dog logo smacked on there, or FireMonkey's logo smacked on there, or emote smacked. Like, we can start building a store and they pay us the same way. Just as somebody uses your supported creator code, somebody can use and purchase your stuff. What do you guys think?
It's like we've seen leaks recently, like for like that discovery menu where you can see like there's the main Epic Games and then like here's all these creative maps and stuff made by the community. We've seen by leaks that they're working on like a whole entire creator page where you'd be able to like click on someone's name and you would see all this type of stuff on them, whether it be like maps that they've made that they want to feature there. And it's like they could implement like a store into that as well. So you could see like if there's like someone's banner that they want to sell of their logo or something, you would go to their creator page and you'd be able to see a list of those like user generated cosmetics.
Yep. That'd be rad. I think it would be so cool. I don't know if it's going to happen right out of the gate, but I feel like that type of system would make the support a creator code thing be more valuable and more significant than any other game currently, because everyone just copied that from Fortnite. Fortnite did the support creator thing, and then now everybody has a support creator thing on every game ever. But this will take it to the next level, a level that a lot of games might not easily be able to replicate. Yeah. PM, you got any thoughts on it?
I do, but I'm going to withhold a lot of my own personal, I guess, opinions on it, because I think it kind of clashes with the gaming community as a whole. And so I think what Fortnite, if they were to do that, would be super awesome. And I think it would hint at them allowing creatives to own their own digital assets, which I think is just awesome to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's and I'm not gonna taint the reputation of it, because there's some letters and some words you can throw in that can make people completely hate it in a heartbeat, which is fair.
Yeah.
And I just think if Fortnite wants to do this, fantastic, please. Like, I am all on board with allowing creators to make money in any way they can, especially on a platform like Fortnite, where there are a lot of really awesome, creators to begin with that don't see the payout that they probably should. And I think this would allow them the ability to get that, or at least allow them the ability to try to maximize it as much as possible. So,
yeah. And just imagine how cool it would be. Like, I can get FireMonkey's logo for 100 V-Bucks, right?
Yeah.
Or something like super simple, but you have it add to your logo page. It gets approved through Epic or whatever. It can be weird. But yeah, that'd be kind of a interesting dynamic to everything. And then especially if they somehow, and I don't know how they would do this, it feels very complex to me. A lot of intern work here, but like the ability to put a shirt on every outfit, I don't think is a reality. or like a hat or something on every outfit. I feel like that feels very gimmicky, and there'd be like so much like problems with it. But maybe specific outfits that start to become more and more popular. You know, you think superhero outfits of how successful those are. Now you pair that, you have a Zemi outfit, right? That has Zemi's actual logo on it. Like kids are going to eat that up. Like that's a really, really interesting thing.
Yeah, and then
oh, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to mention that like almost a year ago now in December 2021, and I'll link this in here if you want to pull it up. There was a survey Epic Games did regarding creative mode and just in general like ways that they would be able to have that like user generated content built into it more. And it's like they've had these ideas before of like making your own battle pass, having your own created outfit wrap or something that you would sell, being able to sell like gated access to like a VIP area of a map or stuff. So it's like these are all things that they've been thinking about for like over a year at this point. And it's a lot of stuff that they could put in Fortnite.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting. It's really exciting.
I can't say too much. I don't want to upset people.
I don't want to get into the NFT space.
I love this. I absolutely love this. I'm not going to take away from this, and I'm just happy this is happening. So I'm happy. This is awesome.
Enjoy the step, you know? Enjoy the step. Okay, so another thing, motorcycles and skateboards. A lot of vehicles that we have had. Like, I know people were super stoked. Summer, like, we're going to be able to use skateboards. Like, people were stoked about that. There was even, like, half pipes in the game. And stuff like that. And then motorcycles have been a thing that we've been requesting and wanting. I'm sure that Fortnite's just waiting for a motorcycle brand like Harley Davidson to be like, hey, let's do this. But yeah, I think we'll see those in some capacity in Chapter 4. FireMonkey?
It kind of goes back to like what we've already mentioned here about like they'll test something and then they'll improve it and use it in the future. Because like with motorcycles, we started getting leaks about that because of the animations and stuff whenever you're riding on like a wolf or a boar. And then skateboards, we've had hoverboards before, so it's like we have the board mechanic. They can update that, make it not a hoverboard, make it a skateboard, and it would just show how they've like improved and changed those mechanics over time to fit a evolving game.
Yep. Also, flying vehicles, which it's an animation for being on the back of like a flying vehicle, like a bird or something. I also wonder if they're just going to eventually just do an animation where when you get on your glider, you sit on your glider. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why we haven't done that yet. I feel like it would do a lot of gliders justice.
Yeah, I mean, like, we have, like, those cloud gliders. Imagine you're gliding down, you're just, like, sitting on that cloud instead of kind of, like, standing on it, like it's a surfboard.
Yeah, I wonder.
I mean, I said it a couple episodes ago that I think they need to do more with gliders just to begin with, whether it's drop really cool new exclusive ones. So maybe, again, the reason why they haven't been doing that is because they're getting ready for this new system.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a new overhaul coming where gliders become way more interactive and way more dynamic.
And they are getting creative with them. I mean, we've seen a lot of creative stuff just with the animation of going onto a glider or flipping around or doing a spin or falling off.
Mr. Meeseek's one, right? Like,
yeah.
He literally turns in the air and he goes up.
He just like looks at the camera.
So,
yeah. There's a lot of good stuff coming with that, hopefully. And then the classic first person mode, which I feel like feels very elusive and it feels very clickbaity and it feels very like.
Well, wasn't there, because I'm showing the photo, the 50v50, like it accidentally leaked for a second, or like someone got the glitch.
So there was a glitch that actually happened a long time ago. It wasn't in actually. You know what? In the image, I think. Yeah. Let me click this. See if this is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. It's like it's a very famous image. Like this went viral for a while.
What happened was this was during one of those live events that we had where I forget the name of it. The Device live event.
Yeah.
We had the sequence where we went into like the Agent Jones's room and we were in first person. You could look down and see your body or whatever. And there was a glitch where for some people it never removed the first person when they returned to the main map. So they were sitting there and they were able to see their gun and stuff. And it was like actually functionable. You're able to actually see, hey, I can see my gun over here on the side and stuff, even though originally it was just kind of intended for this sequence where you're not supposed to have a weapon.
Yep.
Can you
I
imagine
don't.
building in first person? Like, I would be sick.
I feel like chapter 4 will have first person mode. I don't think it will happen at the beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be an integration with Creative 2.0, uefn, whatever. But I do think like it's for that, because if Fortnite wants to take over, the space where Minecraft and Roblox is, I think they have to integrate first person mode in some capacity. The question is like, how do you integrate it? And is it its own game type? Is it like zero builds where you're like, it needs its own type of, server beast to handle whatever we're doing now with that? I don't know. Like I could see it being gimmicky where it's just like, like I have a flashlight, I'm doing a horror movie, like
Yeah.
type of vibe. Or I can see it fully implemented where they just need a lot of time to make this thing work and be a classic. I don't think it'll be popular for builds. I don't think like if they gave it the ability to toggle it in game, I don't think people with builds would enjoy it as much, because you kind of need to be further back a little bit to be able to see what you're working with. But I could see it being very popular in zero builds, where like if you just decided to do that, like I could see that being very popular.
Yeah, I could see it being popular in builds if it's in like a competitive situation where maybe you're a duo and trio and you have one guy who's probably the best shot that's constantly in first person mode and one guy who edits. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's a competitive advantage. But yeah, I personally feel like, I look at it at Fortnite similarly to Apple. Apple is notorious for being behind on software or hardware updates compared to like, Samsung and Android, where Android will come out with something 3 years before Apple does it, but Apple somehow does it better, right?
Right.
Just
Absolutely.
just because they take their time. So like,
Yeah.
for like first person mode isn't this like brand new thing, like newsflash, like this isn't this new mechanic that's all of a sudden in gaming, but Fortnite has the ability to take their time and do it better than most. And I feel like they're not going to release a product full scale unless that's ready to go. I do think like you mentioned, it won't happen in the beginning of the chapter if it does happen, but I do also think they tease it in the beginning, where maybe there's like some cinematic thing where like the character is like in third person mode and like it immediately goes to first and they're just confused. They're like, wait a minute, like what just happened? And then like, that's kind of like the tease to it. So
there's also been some weird integrations over the past few years. Like, I don't know if you guys know the animation where like all of a sudden they like look at their gun and then they just go back to their, like that felt super weird to me. Like unnecessary type of thing. And looking back now, I'm like, oh, well, if it's in first person mode, that feels like if you're standing still, that's the only thing you would see. Like that makes sense. But like in a third person mode, maybe less sense. And so I wonder if, they've just like, maybe they already have the system built for first person. And it's just now they're just kind of like testing it and making sure it works in all type of scenarios. When you hit a glider, when you drink something, what does that look like? When you like, there's got to be so many things where things are wrong and broken because it wasn't designed initially for that they have to recoverly build along the way. When you get into a car, like you have to have the interior of a car designed. Like we don't have that currently, like, so there's a lot of things that they have to think through, I think, more than just like, oh, here's your gun. Like, get out there, soldier. Like, I feel like they have to think of so many things. And every time they integrate or add something new, they have to think about it in first person mode for it to work, or it has to involve first person mode in some capacity. So that's why I think it's going to be the longest. Like, I think I can imagine us waiting on that for a little while. But with uefn coming in, where it's like caters to first person, like as a thing, I can see there be a marriage of them releasing around the same time. So maybe January.
Yeah, I could definitely see it going in like a way where it's like when we have first person, maybe it's like a test of, like they could do it like where they kind of like announce it with Battle Royale and it's like, oh, hey, this is an option you can select in creative mode as well. Or they could do it where they've done with some things in creative mode before, where it's like, hey, this is a beta feature. You can enable it, mess around with first person, and then get the feedback from people making their own maps and stuff in order to turn it further into like a actual Battle Royale thing.
Yeah. That's crazy. I'm excited either way. I just think like chapter 4, there's a lot of reasons to be excited. There's a lot of there's a lot of things to look forward to that we already kind of have sneak peeks of. And so I hope chapter 4 manifests some of the stuff we've talked about, because like it's exciting times ahead if that's the case. Do you guys have any final thoughts or things? I mean, I could talk about this forever, honestly. It's like such a good conversation. We'll probably have to do a part 2 of this, but like anything
to be
else
continued.
yeah. Any final thoughts, words, or things based off of everything we've talked about today from you guys?
Bring back the tech.
You're the worst.
No, I think I'm just excited to see how Fortnite keeps evolving, because like I remember back in like chapter 1 season 2 when we had like was that the season where we had like the Black Knight skin and everything?
Mm-hmm.
I remember sitting there and I could have bought, like, it was like the final week or whatever. I was like, oh, I have enough money to buy all the way tier 70 or whatever back then. But I'm like, I told myself, I was like, I don't see myself playing this game for that much longer. And here we are like 4 years later, and this is like my whole job.
So it's 5 years now, but yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
About to be 6, actually. Technically,
That's
2023
wild.
is coming up, so.
Yeah, but it's like just seeing how Fortnite continues to like innovate, evolve, and all this stuff, and continues to stay relevant is just like super exciting to see, and I'm like here for it.
Yep. PM, final thoughts?
I'm ready. I'm kind of done with this season already. I just don't have the desire to really play it. There's some cool aspects to it, like don't get me wrong. I love the vault system and the ability to constantly like move from place to place pretty quickly. But I've from day one of this season, the loot pool has just been garbage, and I just can't wait for a refresh of new things. So
yeah, I am beyond excited. It couldn't come faster, you know. Like I think everyone's kind of at that place where it's like, okay, here we go. Come on, just give us something nice. And I really hope Fortnite's ready to deliver. And when I talked with Epic employees, it is unanimous about how excited they are for us to see what's to come. And they have been dying to be able to call it chapter 4 for a while. So we are on the verge of something pretty exciting, something pretty awesome. And I hope you guys are all here for it just as much as I am. Those that are listening, thank you again for being here and listening to this podcast. And a special thank you to PM and FireMonkey for being on one of the last chapter 3, season 4 seasons of the Unvaulted podcast. And of course, a special thank you to those that are listening. Thank you. Feel free to connect with us on Twitter at the Unvaulted Pod, or me, the Squatting Dog, or it's PM, or I, FireMonkey. But until next time, we'll be seeing you later.